This week on Detroit Muscle, we take our police cruiser for a little joyride.
Then get her in the shop to upgrade the handling and braking.
To finish up, our hot pursuit sleeper.
To get you up to speed, we took a 2008 Police Interceptor with a ton of miles and added a few budget-friendly upgrades.
We started with a remote mount turbo and fabricated a bit of plumbing to get all that power to our 4.6-liter V8.
Of course, with all that added air, we needed more fuel as well, so we switched it over to a return-style system with a bigger fuel pump.
Then we took our old police cruiser down to engine power and strapped it onto the dyno.
With a little tuning help, we went from 200 horsepower at the tires stock to 368 horsepower, 410 pound-feet of torque.
First thing we're doing today is seeing how she performs on the street.
Well, Tommy, you were right.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said you were right. This car's cool.
How is that cool?
Well, because it's cheap and you get a lot of car for your money.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And you throw some parts at it and have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I know you could have been skeptical in the front half of this thing because it is a big old four-door car, but man, the potential is here. You know, it's V8, it shares a lot of components of the other pony car, if you will, from the Ford lineup, and with that, it's got room to expand. There's room under the hood, room under the car, all that kind of jazz. So, where's the oh no handle? Make sure you know where that's at.
We're gonna die. We're gonna die.
That wasn't bad. That was about a bill 05.
That's nice. It does what it's not supposed to do, and that's why it's cool.
You know, one thing that is really cool about this thing is the whistle. You can slightly hear, and then you can hear it a lot after you get on it, and then let off.
That's cool. I love it. Yeah, I mean, this thing doesn't make a ton of power, but it makes enough to make a difference.
Absolutely. You know, we still got a few more upgrades to do with it, so it's going to take that fun factor.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think adding the extra power was just kind of a necessity. And now we need to complement that.
Yeah. And it wasn't that much work. I mean, in all reality, it would have been, you know, a few hours. And yeah, it'd been a pain in the tail doing it laying flat on your back. But
Right.
I have to say, when you was done, it'd be worth it in the end.
Yep. Agreed. What's left to do?
But we gotta address the brakes. I know with this and it's got so many miles on it, even whenever you put your foot on the brake, it's got a little bit of a bob to it. So, needing to fix the brakes anyhow, you might as well upgrade them to something a little more aggressive and something that can handle a bit more abuse. And with the suspension side of things, it could stand to have a little more.
So you lower it, bigger sway bars, better brakes.
And I like the power and all in the thing, but I think a gear swap in the rear would definitely wake this old girl up.
And I have a feeling before we make it back to the shop today, you know what else it's gonna need?
What's that?
A set of tires.
Well, let's just see what we can do. You know, this is a stop sign.
Right?
Probably ought to stop.
Yep. Which way are we going?
Go back that way.
That way.
Yeah, that's right.
It's the good old boy. Okay.
We're gonna go this way one more time.
Which way are we going?
I'm undecided.
Yeah. That's awesome. I think we should get out of here. We finish up the suspension and upgrade the gears in our Crown Vic so we can take it out on patrol.
You know, I almost want to bet you a 6-pack of whatever you like to drink and some chicken wings that we're gonna get a bit greasy and rusty today working on this thing.
Absolutely, but I'll be willing to bet you it's gonna be worth it, because look at the turbo. A little bit of work, big payoff.
That it was.
Apply the same thing to the suspension, maybe we'll get the same results. But before we start digging into that, let's talk about the actual design of this suspension.
The suspension up under our Crown Vic was started back in '03 whenever they converted from the gearbox to the rack and pinion. It only has a couple of bolts that hold this entire unit up under the car, which makes it pretty popular with the guys building the resto mod trucks.
Another reason is it's got this aluminum K-member. It's super lightweight. The rack and pinion's already integrated, like Tommy said, but it's also got this SLA or short arm, long arm suspension design, which makes it handle really well. It's kind of like a race car, just a little more heavy duty.
Now with our car being a police cruiser, it has a few better goodies up under it, which is a thicker sway bar, better valving in the strut, and heavy duty springs. Not to mention better biting brakes.
So overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, I give it an A+. And the rear, it's not so bad either. Let's check it out. Well, if you thought I was excited about the front suspension, wait till you hear me tell you about the rear. This is a solid rear axle, and there are lots of different types of suspensions you can get on a stick axle. You can have leaf or coil spring, you can have 3-link, 4-link, torque arm, but we're gonna focus on 4-link suspension. There are 3 main types: triangulated 4-link, 4-link with a panhard rod, and 4-link with a Watts link. Let's take a look at them. Triangulated 4-link uses parallel lower and triangulated upper control arms, which act as the centering device. They're great for small packages, but bind under hard driving conditions, especially with stiffer bushings. And the rear end can sway left and right under hard driving conditions. 4-link with a panhard rod can be triangulated or parallel, where the panhard rod acts as the centering device by mounting to the chassis and to the rear axle. It allows the axle to move up and down, but does so on an arc, which allows the rear end to move left and right. 4-link with a Watts link can also be triangulated or parallel, where the Watts link acts as the centering device. It uses 3 links, a left, a right, and a center link to allow the rear end to move up and down with no side-to-side movement. And my favorite is the parallel 4-link with a Watts link, and that is what's on our Crown Vic here. The only drawback would be packaging. It's hard to fit all of those bars in on a smaller car, but we've got a big car, and Ford saw it necessary to put it on all of these, and I'm glad they did. It's great from the factory, but there is room for improvement, so we're gonna dig in and fix it up. Well, we've already established there's not a ton of aftermarket support for these Crown Vics, but thankfully there is some. And to keep you from searching all over the place to get all the parts you need, there's a one-stop shop called adtr.net. We actually talked to a guy there named Chris. He helped us assemble a parts list of everything we needed to make our Crown Vic handle the way it should. And that's everything you see here on this table. But before we get into all that stuff, I want to talk about these specifically. These are the stamped steel Watts links that we removed from the car, and these are the ones that we're going to replace them with. They're billet aluminum from Matco Motorsports. What's nice about these is they're a lot stiffer, they're lighter, and they've got these stiffer bushings in here, so it's not going to flex the way the factory ones would. And they just bolt right in. But before we get to those, let's do the control arms next. I'm going to do one at a time. There's new uppers and lowers also from Matco. Same design, billet aluminum, heavy duty. They're going to do everything we need to do, bolt right in. So let's start with these. I said I was going to do these one at a time, and the reason I'm doing that is because if I take more than one out, the rear end's going to move and I'm going to have to realign it to get the bolts back in. This way I can just pull each arm out, put the new one in.
Jeez, brother, you making a lot of racket.
Yep, where you been?
I've been hiding out, eating some honey buns.
Okay.
You know, with this rear drop down like it is, it'd be a whole lot easier for me to put gears in it.
Yeah, if you're volunteering to do that, have at it. I can go work on something else.
Yeah, go find something to do.
Yeah, I hate that smell anyway.
Whenever you start doing some work on the back side of a rear end like we are, well, a bit of an aroma is gonna be a thing you're gonna be plagued with. I know Marc said he didn't want no part of this. I
think he was the wiser man. Now we are gonna have to do a bit of tear down and get all these goodies off. One more to knock it out. Then we gotta remove the pin and get our hands a bit dirty. What we're gonna do here is swap into a lower set of gears. Originally, this car came with a set of 327s. Come on, baby. There we go. And we're swapping in a set of 373s. It ain't really a whole lot to it. You just swap out the ring gear. Torque it to spec. Then you gotta remove the pinion and install a new one. Now there is a way that you need to set these things up correctly. Once you set your pinion depth, you can slide in the carrier, torque it to spec, and then check your backlash. That was kind of a quick and dirty way to put a set of gears in. I'm gonna go ahead and leave that drive shaft off so Marc's got a little more room to get in there. And plus, saves me some effort. We gotta have brakes and tires before all the fun begins.
Well, since Tommy kicked me out back before I could get that wrapped up, I figured I'd take this opportunity to move up front and get it torn down, which is exactly what I've done here. Everything here on this table is going in the scrap bin because we've got all new stuff to replace it. You saw this earlier. It's everything we got from adtr.net. What we're going to focus on right now, though, is going to be this coilover kit for the front. This is an HQ series kit from RideTech. They're lightweight, they have adjustable ride height, and even adjustability in the valving on the shock. Probably more than we need, but this is what's available, and they're super cool. So this is what we're going to put on. Also, they have all the hardware you need to get it installed. This little bracket here mounts to the K-member with a strut used to mount, a little bit of hardware, and before you know it, we'll be doing donuts. With that upper mount in place, we can slide our coilover in and bolt it down. Now we can just reinstall our ball joints and our steering linkage, and we can move on to our sway bar. This is a bigger, beefier sway bar than the stock one, so it's going to provide better handling. Well, if your brake pads are starting to look like the ones we just pulled off of our Crown Vic here, then you know it's time to upgrade your pads and rotors. You could just upgrade to stock, or you could get something that's a little more high performance and higher quality. You can do that with EBC's S4 brake kit. It's made for spirited street driving, and it comes with these USR rotors that are coated with a black anti-rust coating, and they're slotted, which is for better performance braking and also keeps the surface nice and clean and free of brake dust. The pads that come with the kit are EBC's REDSTUFF ceramic pads. These things are ideal for repeated heavy braking without fading, and they also prevent your rotors from being damaged. That's it for the front. We just need to wrap up on the rear because we are getting dangerously close to heading out on patrol. ADTR sent us this new Watts-Link pivot bolt, which is stronger than the stock one. With it tightened down, we can finally start installing those Watts-Links. We'll get the outer links in. Attach them to the center link, then attach it to the pivot. We got to get this adjustable spring perch mounted here because it'll fall off otherwise. That's what this little stud here is for. Just got to wiggle it in there. That's it. Tighten that nut down. There we go. Then the rear springs can go in, followed by the drive shaft, the shocks, and the new rear sway bar. brakes on, this rear end's done.
While Mark's in there finishing up the suspension under our Crown Vic, I'm gonna go ahead and slap on some new shoes. And by the looks of them, somebody's been abusing these. I don't know who that would have been, not me. What we're putting on is a set of General G-Max RS tires. Now these are a little bit smaller in diameter and a bit wider too. It's gonna help accommodate the stance that we're looking for, plus give us plenty of performance out on the street. Put a little more air in this thing, we're about ready to ride. All right, Hoss, I've got you some skins for this thing.
Oh, look at that.
What else are we gonna need?
I think that's it.
Really?
Yep.
Then we can ride?
Some gas.
Woo-wee, that sounds sweet. If your car sits out in the elements like our police cruiser and you want to protect the paint, then you may want to check out Turtle Wax Hybrid Solutions ceramic spray coating. Now I could tell you the fancy science behind it, but basically it has ceramic polymers that help keep your car's surface stay cleaner for longer. This new formula repels water and contaminants for months. It can be applied to exterior surfaces in direct sunlight, and it adds a brilliant mirror-like shine and enhances your paint's depth. So if your paint is in need of some TLC, you may want to check out the new Turtle Wax Hybrid Solutions line of products.
It's time for Hot Pursuit. I said it before, I'll say it again. You were right. This car is awesome. Great project.
Yeah, it's been, you know, a fun car, and it didn't take a whole lot of work to really improve. We made a lot of bolt-on type deals with it, you know, with the suspension, and then turbo was the most complicated. After you done that, man, it was game on.
Absolutely. If you were to do anything differently than we did without going further or spending more money, would you change anything that we did?
Wouldn't think.
Put a muffler on it.
Yes. I mean, the stance, it looks, you know, it's lowered, but it still looks like a cop car. Doesn't look like your airbag system is broken, right? Like the Fords are so prone for. But other than it just being a teeny bit too loud, that's about it.
You can't take anything away from this car. Name something about it that you don't like. It's got 4 doors. It's not very gorgeous looking. It doesn't have the curb appeal, but what it lacks in curb appeal, it makes up for in presence.
Fun factor. You know, this old car is kind of like a good country song. There's just enough whistle in it to make it right.
When you said good country song, I thought it was going to be like 3 chords in the truth. Huh? I'm like, I don't know where he's going with this, but
yeah.
I want this car.
Man, that makes me feel good.
For myself. Like, I want to drive this car every day.
You know, it isn't all that often we get to have this much fun and no more work than we had to do.
Yeah, absolutely love this car. It's actually one of my favorite projects we've ever done. Hate to see it go.
I got you, man, but there should be just something else we could do, you know, have a little more fun with it.
I think I know what you're talking about. I got this.
What the heck were you thinking, man? I'm like a super trooper and you're Reno something another.
We're cops. When do we ever get an opportunity to do this?
I guess you're right. I guess we need to take a spin. What do you think?
Let's go have as much fun as we possibly. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm driving.
You could have got me a shirt, brother, that fit. Hot pursuit, let's go. Time to ride. Woo!
We're gonna get them. I'm telling you right now, boy.
So, maybe you should try to create a diversion.
Explain to me what you mean by that.
Big smoky burnout, cuz.
You think it'll do it?
Hell yeah, this thing will do it. Or as my grandpappy said, Dale, yeah.
Okay.
Uh-oh, there goes. Make sure nobody's coming. Oh yeah. I don't know which one of us right now is Smokey and which one's Bandit, but I can tell you we're both postal workers because we hauling the mail.
Boy, this thing just drives itself through this drive-through.
Bet they already know what we want.
just do me 3 dozen glazed then.
Can I get your coffee or anything else today?
Coffee? No, I think we're good. We got some beers in here. Root beers.
They don't know who they're messing with. Need to ask if they give an official discount.
Do you give guys like us discounts?
Guess that's negative.
I guess that's a no. Noted. Thank you.
You have a great day.
That's like a good day sitting there eating donuts.
Oh yeah, this is about the best day I've ever had at work.
I know, man. I can't believe I actually get paid to do this.
Sure, we're not the first ones to ever do this, but
Let's see why they do it.
absolutely. Got an idea.
What's that?
We're eating donuts? What if, hear me out, what if we did donuts?
Well, I hope you don't plan on doing a whole lot of them. That's what I'm talking about.
Donuts?
While eating donuts.
While eating donuts. I better get away from that trailer a little bit. Dude, this thing will do some serious donuts.
So get Krispy Kreme.
Look at it, it just loves it. It lives for this. Hell, I live for this.
See y'all. We out. I pursuit.